Good morning. Welcome to the Kingsport News Hour for the 16th year of Chungi, and we're in the Leap sixth month and the 15th day of that Leap sixth month. Tim Hill is sitting in for the second king of Cheongjimun, and let's take our tour around the kingdom to see what is going on. Right now in Chungkyung, Tennessee, it is 67 degrees and clear. Getting up to 84 today, partly sunny with a thunderstorm in spots this afternoon. And clear tonight, 63 for a low. Father's hometown, Cheongju in North Pyongan Province, 81 and mostly cloudy right now. Getting down to 70 tonight with overcast skies, 83 for a high tomorrow, a couple of morning showers, otherwise clouds giving way to brightening sky. Northeast Pennsylvania at the Cheongju Palace, currently 54 and partly sunny. 83 for a high today, mostly sunny and less humid. Heat and humidity to build over the weekend and early next week. High of 83, then low of 53 tonight. Clear skies. At the Liberty Rock RV Park and Campground in Limestone County, Texas, currently 71 and clear. And getting up to 98 today, mostly sunny and very warm tonight. Clear and humid, low of 74. Suncheon Palace in Korea, currently 79 and cloudy. Remaining cloudy through the night, getting down to 71. Tomorrow, cloudy with heavy showers in the afternoon, 81 for a high. And at the Gunma Palaces in Japan, got a thunderstorm advisory going on, 86 and cloudy right now, and partly to mostly cloudy tonight, getting down to 70. Sunshine and some clouds tomorrow, high of 91. And in Ilan, Taiwan, it is currently 88 degrees. Under cloudy skies, clouds breaking tonight, 79 for a low. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy and humid, thunderstorm in spots in the afternoon, high of 95. All right, let's go to Father's Word, and we're in the book on earthly life in the spirit world, chapter 1, section 1, section 1.89, section 1.9. Okay, and then the 9.1, 1.9.1. Okay, today, people today, regardless of how precious they are, precious means that, VIP, very important, no matter how important they may be, no matter if they are a PhD, they don't realize that their birth was wrong. 틀렸다. Wrong is not the smoothest of English, but don't realize that their birth was, well, I think we get the idea, right? It's one of those things I think you have to just sort of get the idea that their birth was, not right. They weren't born in the right way. They don't know that, they don't realize that they were born with the love, life, and lineage of God's enemy, Satan. This is an important issue. Because of the fall, human beings were born by Satan's love. And Satan's love has been passed down all the way to their parents. Satan's blood flows in the mother's life, in the father's life. And today, that blood has been passed down to me. Now here, me, this is not Father speaking of me, Sun Myung Moon, right? This is a general me. Don't get confused on that. So I am the crystallization of those three. In other words, Satan, my mother, and my father. Okay, crystallization. So you are a part of Satan's lineage. Yes. Father listed 6 things that are necessary for world peace and unity, for a world of peace and unity. And one of those is that everyone in the world has to realize that they are sinners. Yes. And of course, number one was everyone has to have a clear and a very definite realization or knowledge of God. And I think, oh yeah, number 2 was spirit world. And I think number 3 was true parents or Christ, Messiah. I think number 4 was knowledge that we are all sinners. And let's see, number 6 was human portion of responsibility. I think number 5, I think, I think number 5 was the restoration through indemnity, I believe. Okay, well, you can check that out. It's in the OSTP. Anyway, so one of those, though, the point is that one of those is to realize that we are all sinners, no matter how important we may be, no matter how successful we may be academically. We have all sorts of PhDs and everything like that. Still, we are all born with Satan's love, life, and lineage, and that is a problem. And so, of course, we need to change that situation, and that can only be changed by being grafted onto the true olive tree. Well, the true olive tree being grafted onto us. Had an email recently about a person who took the holy wine, or not the holy wine, the false wine of the Family Federation, and later on began to feel pains of conscience, and was writing, not me directly, but some other person who referred to the situation to me, asking how this can be rectified. And it was very sad for me to read that email because for the past 9 years or more, we've been trying to put the word out that taking the false wine of the Family Federation is the same as committing a sexual fall. And so remedying the situation is also the same as a person who has committed the sexual fall. And that's simply that the couple has to go through the change of lineage and the holy blessing ceremony process, the entire process from the beginning, and they have to do it as a previously married couple. This person apparently was not aware of this. Obviously, his spirit world was aware of this, and that's why he was feeling this urge to contact people in the Sanctuary Church. He said he's been a Sanctuary Church supporter, a supporter of the Second King. But if he's a supporter of the Second King, he should know this. I mean, this is not some big secret. If he's been paying attention, he should frankly notice. But it's a painful part of my job to have to tell people when they come that this is their situation. And I know some people, when they hear this, they say, okay, well, I'm going to take my chances. I'm just going to sort of stay arm's length from Sanctuary. I'm not going to go through that whole change of lineage process again. And we'll see, well, okay. But as Father often said, you will find out when you die. You will find out when you get to spirit world. Going to spirit world is a huge reality check for a lot of people. In fact, I suppose for almost everyone, it's a huge reality check because some people don't even believe that spirit world exists. Okay, reality check number 1. Whoops. Well, I'm still here. What's going on? That's reality check number 1. But then the second reality check then is that people discover where they are in relationship to God. In other words, how close or how distant they are to God, or how distant they are from God. And well, we know the story in the Bible. And actually, the Queen was reading this as the Bible Rima this morning, or maybe the days sort of flow together for me, and I'm not really sure if it was this morning or yesterday morning, but recently, in the last couple 3 days, she read the story in the Bible, in the Gospel, about the rich man and Lazarus, the beggar, right? Where, anyway, to make the story shorter than it actually is, uh, the rich man goes to the spirit world and finds himself in hell, and he looks up and he sees Lazarus, the beggar, sitting in the bosom of Abraham, and so he says, "Oh, please send someone and warn my family, my brothers and my family about this, so that they won't make the same mistake that I did." So reality check, reality check. Yeah, that situation didn't work out very well either. Anyway, so yeah, reality check. But the fact that this person felt this pain of conscience and was motivated to contact someone to find out about exactly what needed to be done, I think is a very, very good indication that he has a very righteous spirit world that does understand. Okay, he may not understand, but his spirit world does understand what's involved here and what he needs to do. And it's their eternal lives too, because they are affected by what he does here on earth. All right, so and anyway, in answering, I know, of course, I answered the question. And then at the end, I said, please, let's disseminate this information widely so that people can understand the seriousness of the situation. Okay? Don't don't take that wine. Don't take that wine. All right. And I'm sure everybody, listening or watching this is well aware of this, but let's make sure that the people around us are all aware of that situation. Okay. All right, let's see. Today I have an update of sorts on the situation with the Family Federation and the law enforcement authorities here. But well, let's get that out of the way first. Okay. So it's not a big situation, but I know people are interested. So today, Wanju McDevitt was subpoenaed, and she responded to the subpoena. She was subpoenaed by the special counsel investigating alleged corruption by the former First Lady. And, this whole thing about the Chanel handbag and also a diamond necklace and other things involved in that the Family Federation allegedly passed to the First Lady, apparently in return for certain favors towards the business operations or towards other interests of the Family Federation, and there may be other things as well going on. And of course, the former director of world missions of the Family Federation has been detained, and he is still detained, I believe. I'm pretty sure he's still detained, yes. And he's been saying, well, this is not something that I did on my own, because he's the one who actually sort of passed it to an intermediary and then on to the First Lady, allegedly. He said, well, this was decided by someone above me in the organization. Well, there are only two people above him in the organization, and Wanju McDevitt is one. And so she was subpoenaed to come in and respond to interview questions. So I believe she's probably been interviewed all day, and I don't know what's happened to her. I don't think she's being detained today, but we'll see what happens in the future. In Korea, you can be arrested or you can be detained. And it's a little bit similar, but a little bit different from the US. And between the two, arrested, detained, the detained is more serious. If you're arrested, this is for a short time. they can only hold you for a short time, and an arrest is considered to be sort of a preliminary step towards detainment, which is a slightly higher legal requirement in terms of evidence and so forth. And of course, in both cases, there has to be a judge that will sign off on this, or a court that will sign off on this. In case of the former director of World Missions, he has been detained. And the practical difference is that if you're detained, they can hold you for a lot longer than if you are arrested. So he's detained and he's being held. And Wonju was called today as not as a material witness, but as a suspect. This is the legal status that she is in with respect to this whole situation. And it's not clear, or it's unknown to me right now anyway, whether she's going to be arrested or detained, and or not. We'll have to wait and see, what the special counsel decides to do on that. But once they have her testimony, then from a layman's perspective, it would be natural that then they would go the next step, that they would subpoena the lady herself, the big lady herself, and have her come in, and subpoena her and have her come in. And we will see what that's going to be like. Until now, she's been very defiant. And in the South Korean justice system, being defiant does not help. I think I've never been in trouble with the law enforcement authorities here. Praise be to God. But everything that I know suggests that it's best to be humble and even apologetic. For example, the first lady, when she came in to answer questions, she was also subpoenaed, I think, yesterday. And as she was going in, she says, "Oh, I'm just a nobody. I'm just a nobody, and I'm really sorry that a nobody such as myself has caused such an uproar in society. I'm really, really sorry about that." So she's following Lori's advice, whereas the big lady, she's saying the special counsel has what did she say? Has blasphemed heaven. The special counsel does not understand the power of true parents. So something of a contrast, would you say? And just in terms of how you're expected to act when you are going up against the power of the state, the former first lady is kind of giving. It's probably, of course, it's an act. Of course, it's an act, and everybody probably understands that it's an act. But still, you're expected to play that role, okay? So things like, the special counsel has blasphemed heaven. They don't understand the power of the true parents. This is not going to work out. This is not going to go well for her. So we'll see. But as I mentioned before, this is a heartbreaking situation for True Father. He certainly loves her, and but I doubt that he has any grounds to intervene in this situation. She's not creating a condition for him to intervene in this situation on her behalf. All right, that out of the way, and I will follow on that, and we will see one thing, whether Wonju is detained or not, or arrested or detained, and we'll see what happens. Okay. All right, let's see here. Now, of course, the other sort of apocalyptic situation we're looking at is the relationship between the U.S. and Russia. And of course, the envoy of President Trump visited Moscow on Wednesday, and now some unconfirmed but looks like pretty good reports are coming out about what President Trump actually proposed to Trump in through his envoy. And so let's see. And by the way, yesterday I said that President Trump said, yeah, the talks went well, they were productive and all that. And it looks like now Trump and Putin are going to meet without Zelensky, but Trump still hopes to arrange a meeting between Putin and Zelensky after he meets Putin. So we'll see how that works out. Anyway, it says here the Polish news outlet posts Trump's proposal to Putin about ending the war. Story by Uliana. Anyway, this story, and it's in the Ukrainska Pravda. So this looks like a Ukrainian paper, and I'm always careful about using Ukrainian sources because they're going to be they're going to be biased, all right? And we need to be very careful about propaganda on all sides. But this story looks like it may be worth our while to take a look at. I'm sorry that we have this ad here. Can we get rid of this ad? All right. Apparently not. Yeah. Come on. All right. I'm sorry. Turn off your screen if you have to. This is a very unfortunate ad. Oh boy. Anyway, I'm getting it up so that you can read and perhaps even. Okay. Polish outlet Onet, I guess 1T or Onet or something like that, Onet, has reported having learned the details of a favorable American proposal regarding Ukraine, which was presented to Russian ruler Vladimir Putin during talks with Steve Witkoff, U.S. President Donald Trump's special envoy in Moscow. Let's slip past this ad. Okay. Although Onet does not name its sources, that's a red flag right there, but let's continue anyway. It says that the proposal was coordinated with European states. So that would suggest that maybe one of the other European states leaked this to this journalist. That's perhaps possible. We have learned that Moscow received a very favorable offer from the Trump administration, the outlet reported, according to Onet, the U.S. proposal includes a ceasefire in Ukraine, though not a full peace agreement. De facto recognition of Russian-occupied territories by postponing the status issue for 49 or 99 years. The lifting of most sanctions imposed on Russia, and in the long term, a return to energy cooperation, namely imports of Russian gas and oil. Meanwhile, the proposal repeatedly does not include guarantees against NATO expansion, one of Moscow's consistent demands. Russia did not receive any promises that military support for Ukraine would cease. However, according to the outlet, this last point is said to be acceptable to the Russians. Background: following the meeting between Steve Witkoff and Kremlin leader Vladimir Putin, Trump had a phone call with Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky and several European leaders. After this, media reports indicated that Trump told European leaders he intended to meet with Putin as early as next week, and afterwards to organize a trilateral meeting also involving Zelensky. Later, the Kremlin confirmed that Russia and the United States had agreed on a meeting between Russian ruler Putin and the U.S. president in the coming days. Zelensky also stated that during yesterday's phone conversation with Trump and the European leaders, they discussed potential formats for high-level meetings. All right, so it looks to me like this report may be largely accurate, and it looks to me as though this is kind of maybe some sort of a starting point, or at least a document that is somewhere along, somewhere in the process, whether at the beginning or the middle, but probably not the end of the negotiation process. And so it looks to me like actually progress is being done and being accomplished. So to me, this is good news. I'm going to go ahead and assume that this report is accurate. Like I said, we're going to assume it, right? But we're ready to be contradicted if it turns out to be so. Okay, but for the time being, let's assume that this report is correct. And so we'll see. And as I said, this is the leap month, and this is the month where, as I mentioned yesterday, I think um, evil spirits don't realize that time is progressing. I still love that. Okay, I love that. They don't realize that time is going forward, that the timeline is moving. And so on the first day of the seventh month, which is 2 weeks from tomorrow, they're going to wake up and say, "Hey, what happened to the war?" Okay. Anyway, probably maybe this month is the between now and the 22nd of August, may be the best time for God to enable spirit world to work on bringing an end to that Ukrainian war. Let's hope that that is the case. People need to stop dying. That's the situation. But we'll see. We'll see. I have no idea if that's going to be the case or not, but we'll see. All right. Let's go to something else now. Not a whole lot is happening right now. Let's see. Tom Homan is celebrating 200 days of President Trump's border policy. When you start counting the days like this, there's not a lot of news going on. And Skewers is a Democratic critic. Speaking to Newsmax about Trump's 200 days in office, border czar Tom Homan said vocal Democratic critic Senator Elisa Slotkin had turned a blind eye to disastrous Biden border policies. What we're doing is making this country safe again. What we're doing is correct. And here's a congressperson who buried her head in the sand under the Biden administration when we had the highest level of sex trafficking of women and children in the history of this nation. As I've said before, I'm not comfortable with some of the things that are going on, such as people who have been in the country for decades in some cases with a green card being picked up and deported based on some pretty minor things, it would seem. Even though they're legal right now in the country, they have a green card. We'll have to, but overall, I think what's happening is that the Trump administration has decided that this is the time to reestablish law and order in immigration policy. Recently here in Korea, we had a situation where a bunch of high school kids were going to go on a school trip, or some kind of a trip. Anyway, it was a group trip along with three chaperoning adults. And the high school kids were 50 something, I think, or so, 50, maybe more than 50 people, including the three adults. And most of them were denied boarding on the plane to the US. And we don't know the situation, why they were denied boarding, but it has something to do with the recent crackdown on immigration policy, apparently. And this is something that similar events had taken place before. So right now, the U.S. policy is that, well, anybody who's in the country illegally, or anybody who has overstayed their visa in the past, who is overstaying their visa, or who has done, anything like maybe even traffic infractions sometimes, they are all subject to being kicked out of the country. And so right now, everybody's sort of keeping their head low and sort of waiting to see what will happen. So I think, as a general policy, it's good to reestablish law and order. That is true, because the United States has been very generous until now. And I think the Trump administration is saying that, yes, that generosity has been abused. And so we're going to reestablish order. We had this news about some people from some countries that are going to require a $15,000 bond, right? And so far, I think Malawi and Zambia, I think, are the only two countries where that policy is being applied. And I think the reason it's being applied to those nations is that those countries don't supply the United States with enough information about the people who are, for example, police reports, or especially police reports, or who this person is and stuff like that. And so U.S. government wants a bond to sort of guarantee that the person is going to abide by the terms of the visa if and when they do in fact come. But it looks like most countries are not going to have that issue. I think the media is playing that up a bit sometimes, but it's not going to apply to most countries. All right, and then so this is going to continue, it looks like, and probably continue during the 4 years of the Trump administration. So for the next 3.5 years, I guess. And even people with green cards sometimes, when they return to America after visiting their home country, they are being turned away. Their green card is being confiscated, for example. That's happening. And as I mentioned yesterday, people who are illegally in the United States, overstayed the visa, or came into the U.S. illegally, and trying to adjust their status by marrying a U.S. citizen, are being taken into custody and deported instead of being allowed to adjust their status. So things are different. Things are different from it was not just under the Biden administration, but the way it has been going on for the past several decades. So anyway, that's what's going on now, and I think probably in a historical context, it's probably a good thing that the U.S. is reestablishing the standards of law and order. There are individual cases of hardship, and that's true, and I think people just have to be aware of what's going on and act accordingly. Some people may want to delay or cancel trips outside the United States, for example. That may be a good idea in some cases. Okay. All right, let's see here. So a lot of changes are happening under the Trump administration. And basically, he's saying, hey, these are the things that I promised to do when I was running for president, and guess what? I'm doing them. So this is what I was elected to do. Feds to expand DC presence at Trump's direction. So yes, President Trump is saying that the crime in Washington, DC is just too high, and we're going to do something about it. People both domestically and overseas are finding out that President Trump is not someone to be toyed with. So criminals in the U.S., criminals overseas, Mexican cartels and others, and also the heads of government overseas are finding out that probably it's a good idea to take President Trump seriously and to comply. Although we do have these 4 countries that are trying to defy President Trump, right? Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea. And they're basically saying, hey, let's hang together so we don't have to hang separately. But I think they're going to hang together. They're going to hang together. I don't think they're going to be successful in defying President Trump. But anyway, we'll see what happens with that. China especially is in big trouble, and Russia is in big trouble. And of course, also India is not one of the 4, but India is also in big trouble. North Korea seems to be doing quite well, although I noticed that more people are escaping from North Korea than usual. One person, he wrapped himself in bubble wrap, I think, and that helped him swim across the estuary there between the 2 countries. That's an idea. So people are getting creative. Yeah, bubble wrap. All right, let's see here. Federal agents are planning to increase their presence in the nation's capital as directed by the Trump administration, officials said on Thursday. This has to be the best run place in the country, not the worst run place in the country. And it has so much potential, Trump told reporters in the Oval Office yesterday. According to a White House official, increased policing might involve officers from Homeland Security Immigration and Customs Enforcement, the FBI, and the National Guard. A DC official noted it's unknown if agents will have duties beyond their usual roles or presence on federal property. Right. So if you live in or around Washington, D.C., you know that there are many, many police forces there. You got the Metropolitan Police, of course, and then you also have the National Park, and you have the FBI, and you have, of course, Immigration and Customs, and I guess now they're going to add the National Guard to all that. It's really quite something. It's quite an overlap patchwork of policing jurisdictions there. DC residents can expect to see an increase in federal enforcement starting as early as tomorrow, an administration official said on Thursday. So that will be starting today, noting that operational specifics were still being determined. Washington, D.C. is an amazing city, but it has sadly been plagued by petty and violent crime for far too long. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt told NBC News in a statement, President Trump is committed to making our nation's capital safer and even more beautiful for its residents, lawmakers, and visitors from all around the world. And yeah, it is a major tourist spot, right? Especially the White House area, the Capitol, and the National Mall there, especially the National Mall, and along there, all the museums, the Smithsonian Institute, the Air and Space Museum, and Natural History Museum, and all the other museums and monuments there, the Jefferson Memorial, Lincoln Memorial, of course, Washington Memorial, all that. So it is important for America that we sort of clean this up and make it sort of presentable, right? Data estimates from Congress, the United Nations Office on Drug and Crime Statista, and local government statistics show that DC has the highest rate of homicides among 18 national capitals from 2019 to 24, with 41 per 100,000. The closest to it was Montevideo, Uruguay, at 16.1, Baghdad at 15.2. Baghdad, the capital of Iraq, 15.2, and Lagos, Nigeria, at the 15.0, although Lagos is not a capital city anymore, right? Anyway, Abuja, I think, is the capital of Nigeria now. FBI data also showed that juvenile crime against people has steadily increased from more than 100,000 in fiscal year 2020 to more than 400,000 in fiscal year 2024. The administration is looking into the repeal of the Home Rule Act, a 1973 federal law that gives DC residents the power to elect their own mayor and city council members. Wow. The repeal of the Home Rule Act, that's a drastic step. People in Washington worked very, very hard for that to be passed. This is, before that, they couldn't even elect their own mayor. The president's increased focus on crime in the nation's capital comes following the brutal attack on a former DOJ employee who was beaten this week while trying to assist a victim of a failed carjacking attempt. The president posted on his Truth Social platform Tuesday that the law in DC must be changed to prosecute these minors as adults and lock them up for a long time, starting at age 14. If DC doesn't get its act together and quickly, we will have no choice but to take federal control of the city and run the city how it should be run, and put criminals on notice that they're not going to get away with it anymore. Trump added, if this continues, I'm going to exert my powers and federalize the city. One of the executive orders Trump signed in March was aimed at revitalizing DC to make the District of Columbia safe and beautiful. Among the goals of the order is to have federal authorities assist Metropolitan Police Department to facilitate the recruitment, retention, and capabilities of its police officers, and to facilitate work with federal personnel, resources, and expertise to reduce crime. All right. This is a Newsmax story. All right. So we'll see how that works out. But I think he's going to show that once again that he needs to be taken seriously. And by the way, the various tariffs are being applied now. Some of them anyway are being applied now. And in some cases, countries are saying, hey, wait a second, this is not what we agreed on. Japan, for example, is saying, hey, wait a second. And the US Treasury Department is actually agreeing with Japan and saying, yeah, I know now we need to get President Trump to sign an executive order that reflects our agreement. And we're going to go ahead and collect the tariffs now, but then we'll refund it to you later on. Is what they're saying right now. So, all these, or most of these agreements were basically handshake agreements. And President Trump has to, or someone has to draft an executive order, and then he has to sign the executive order before it actually becomes a matter of law. So, and what's this going on here? Okay. So we'll see what happens with that. All right. Excuse me. Let's see here. And Trump to host Armenia, Azerbaijan for peace summit. Okay. And here, White House economist to be Fed board nominee. All right. And the reward for arresting Maduro has been increased from $10 million to $50 million. And maybe a member of his security team will want to pick up that 50 million. I don't know. All right. Executive orders probe of bank bias against the right. We've talked about that already. I'm not going to try and get my PayPal account back. They can go ahead and keep it. Okay. And the order paves the way for alternative 401k assets. So Bitcoin and crypto, I think, are going to be allowed as 401k assets. Right. And Trump must play, this congressman says Trump must play hardball with Putin. Trump is when you watch him negotiating, it's quite interesting because he sort of pushes and pulls, and he'll move forward and take a step back and sort of this way, take right, go left, and eventually winds up with something that is more than what he started with. It's interesting to see him work. And some people don't like it. They say, "Oh, it's unpredictable," and that, but maybe I think being unpredictable is part of his method. And see here, Fort Stewart shooting, people over politics is Trump's legacy. Yeah, okay. All right, okay. All right, and Trump, Kremlin, Trump to meet Putin soon. All right, we know about that. And feds to examine presence in D.C. at expand the president, right? Accused Fort Stewart, okay. Bullied, overstudied. Oh yeah, and Netanyahu is his cabinet has decided to go ahead and take control of Gaza City, as I understand, not the entire Gaza Strip, but only Gaza City. That's what I thought, but this article seems to say all of Gaza. So I think there's a lack of clarity there. Who wrote this? Associated Press was used in this report. Now, the articles that I saw said that he was going to take Gaza City, which is not all of Gaza. Anyway, Netanyahu made the comments in the interview. We want to liberate ourselves and the people of Gaza from the awful terror of Hamas. We want to keep permanent control of Gaza. So maybe yes. Okay. The Security Cabinet meeting could result in an order for the full occupation of Gaza for this time. If the council votes to expand, could be days or weeks before Israeli Defense Forces will be able to begin to push deeper into Gaza. So maybe they're starting with Gaza City and then they're going to push forward after that. Okay. Anyway, not clear, but I guess we'll find out as time goes on. Okay. Came India's Modi to visit China. Yeah, we've talked about that yesterday. And gold futures hit record on reports of U.S. tariffs. And Trump is going to start, apparently, it's reported he's going to start charging a tariff on gold above 1 kilogram, which is what? A kilogram is 2.2 pounds, right? Yeah, 2.2 pounds. And how many troy ounces in 2.2 pounds? About 30 something, I guess. I'm not sure how many troy ounces. U.S. gold futures surged to a record Friday, okay, after reports that Washington imposed tariffs on imports of 1 kilogram bullion bars, widening the spread between New York futures and spot prices. December U.S. gold futures jumped 1% to 3,489.40 after hitting a record of 3,534.10. Spot gold was little changed at 33.99 and 22 cents per ounce as of 095.35 GMT, which would be right now, the GMT time is let's see, 2011, so about 2 hours ago-ish, I guess. Bullion is on track for a second straight weekly gain, up about 1%, et cetera, et cetera. The letter said 1 kilogram and 100-ounce gold bars should be classified under a customs code subject to higher duties. Booth, the newspaper, said could weigh heavily on Switzerland, the world's largest refining hub. The futures spot spread lasts, but 100 ounces is not 1 kilogram, though. I'm not sure why. Okay. The move could also create supply bottlenecks, which could push up the price of spot gold, it says. Okay. All right, we'll see how that works out, right? Okay. So maybe gold is going to become more expensive to buy in the United States. All right. Judge to review migrant child detention limits, and FBI to add drug cartel suspects to terror watch list. Sounds like a good idea. Right? And California pastor flee state if bill passes. Okay. What's the spell anyway? We can't read it. All right. Kremlin, Trump, okay. Veterans group slams Arizona senator. Paramount chief on Trump, not politicizing anything. Okay. Senator, FBI will help track down Texas Democrats, but why? What do you mean track them down? I think they're in Illinois. We know that. They've been taking photographs of themselves. I think, Air Force rejects early retirement. Okay. And French fries linked to higher odds for type 2 diabetes. Oh no. Okay. All right. Lowered screening age leads to more colon cancers detected earlier. All right. Yeah, I had a nephew who was diagnosed with colon cancer, and he was like, I don't know, he was in his 30s or something. I was surprised. Anyway, he had a serious situation, and how come I keep disappearing today? Anyway, maybe it's the shirt. I don't know. Anyway, so something about something about our food, something about our medicine. I don't know what it is, but things are not the way they used to be. Colon cancer being detected much earlier. Autism, of course, increasing all the time. And this whole thing with peanut allergy. I mean, who ever heard of peanut allergy back in the day? And there wasn't anybody who didn't eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, right? I mean, everybody ate peanut butter and jelly sandwiches when you were 10 years old in America, basically. And no one was allergic to peanuts back then. Anyway, so something is going on, and maybe someday we will find out what that is. Maybe now with RFK Jr. in Health and Human Services, maybe he's going to find out for us. Okay. Two Pennsylvania troopers ambushed, alleged shooter dead. That's good. That's good. I remember, how long ago was this now? 10 years ago? Well, when I was still in Pennsylvania, a trooper was ambushed and died, was killed by somebody. They tracked him down eventually. Oh, this was a domestic incident. Okay. Two Pennsylvania state troopers were ambushed and shot in a domestic incident Thursday morning. The alleged shooter is dead. 6 ABC reported that troopers were responding to a domestic situation involving possible gunfire just after 10 a.m., 11 a.m. And where is this? They don't say. No, Albany? But Albany's not in Pennsylvania. This must be a file photograph. Okay. CNN quarter thing. They don't tell us where this was. That's frustrating. Maybe then WINK. What station is that? Okay, and where are we here? Thompson, PA. Okay, so the 61-year-old neighbor was killed and then the neighbor killed the 61-year-old woman, and then state troopers came in, and it looks like they killed the shooter. Okay. Thompson. All right, let's see. India praises strategic partnership with Russia despite Trump tariff threats. So India is going to try and defy President Trump, and we'll see what happens. I have a feeling that they're not going to last very long, but we will see. Indian National Security Advisor Doval touted his government's strategic partnership with Russia on Thursday after meeting with Russian military officials, while Prime Minister Narendra Modi vowed to keep shielding India's agricultural industry with tariffs and regulatory barriers despite President Donald Trump's punitive tariffs on Indian goods. Modi did not mention Trump or the United States by name in his remarks on Thursday, but vowed his government will never compromise on the well-being of its farmers, even if he must personally pay a high price for it. For us, our farmers' welfare is supreme, he said. Agricultural protectionism and India's purchase of Russian oil have emerged as the two biggest stumbling blocks to closing a trade deal with the United States. President Trump imposed a general 25% tariff on Indian goods on August 1st, then added another 25% via executive order on Wednesday to penalize India for financing Russia's war on Ukraine by purchasing huge amounts of Russian oil. The new 50% total rate is scheduled to take effect on August 27. And apparently the administration is alleging that India is buying cheap oil from Russia and then selling it at a profit on the international market. And India is saying, no, we have to, we need oil and we're only buying it for ourselves. That's what they're saying. Okay. India has insisted its consumption of Russian oil will continue. Well, is it consumption or is it purchase for profit? Buy low, sell high type situation. Although it has actually trimmed its imports from Russia quite a bit over the past few weeks, ostensibly because the discounts offered by Russian producers are getting smaller. In a somewhat similar vein, even as Modi and other Indian politicians vow to protect domestic agriculture at all costs, India's trade in agricultural products with the United States soared by almost 50% year on year in the first half of 2025. All right. India's trade in agricultural products with the U.S. soared by 50% year on year, what are we importing from what agricultural products are we importing from India? I'm curious. One, okay. Uh, are they not going to break it down for us? Tree nuts, mainly almonds and pistachios. Okay. So it looks like maybe almonds and pistachios may be going up in price. Uh, oh, wait a second. The U.S. exports to India have been led by tree nuts. Oh, okay. We're exporting to tree nuts. I see. So what are we importing from? Uh, what are we importing? Here we go. Seafood, primarily frozen shrimp. Shrimp has been the top item. Okay. So that's what we're importing here. India's agricultural exports to the U.S. are somewhat more diversified, while seafood, primarily frozen shrimp, has been the top item. There are others as well, from spices and essential oils to basmati rice, processed fruits and vegetables, and baked foods that have been doing well with annual shipment value exceeding $200 million each. Yeah, I bought, my wife and I bought some Indian rice one time. We ran out of rice at home, and for some reason, we couldn't go to H Mart. Why was it? Were they closed or something? I can't remember. But anyway, we went to Walmart and go to Walmart, and there are all kinds of rice, right? And okay, you got the Thai rice. Okay, we know not to buy that. That's for sure. The long grain Thai rice. No, 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 stay away from that stuff. Then we looked at the Indian rice, and it said medium grain, right? And we know that Asian rice, Korean rice, Japanese rice is also medium grain. So we thought, okay, well, medium grain, similar, no problem, and we bought it. Anyway, it was um, an acquired taste, I guess you would say, and we did not acquire that taste in that short period of time. But we went ahead and consumed it, although it was a trial. It was a trial, yes. So Asians are very particular about their rice, and I'm sure Indians feel the same way about Korean or Japanese rice. And I'm sure folks from Thailand feel the same way about Korean or Japanese rice. I don't know how Thai people in Korea survive with the different kinds of rice that they have to eat here. But anyway, yes, rice in Asia, very important. Yes. So when India is exporting Indian rice to the United States, obviously to Walmart, we bought some of that. All right. Anyway, frozen shrimp is one of their big exports, or seafood, including frozen shrimp. Okay. And U.S. exports tree nuts, pistachios, and almonds to India. Okay. All right. So let's see here. What else is going on? Um, Peace President Trump, fix America, fix the world. In 6 wars in 6 months. Yes. Uh, mhm. So it looks like Breitbart is celebrating Trump being in office for 6 months. Powell refuses to say he will step down next year. I don't think he has a choice. I think his term is up, and unless he is renominated, I think he has to step down. Doesn't have to leave the Fed. Look, I see. So he could stay on the Fed board, although he would step down as chairman. I think that's what would happen. Right. He could remain on the board of governors until 2028, years into Trump's second term. Right. So his role as chairman ends next year, but his role on the board itself goes on until 2028. So he may decide to stay on, and just to spite President Trump. And that's sounds like it's very possible. It's very possible. Right, and we're looking at some of the past history on that. Okay. All right, well, let's see. It looks like we're out of time here. And I want to thank you for joining us today. Tomorrow's Saturday. I'll be back tomorrow. And we'll see what happens in the next 23 hours. God bless.